Good evening. Welcome to the October 6th edition of the Downers Grove Village Council meeting. As is our tradition, please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
For those present in council chambers this evening, copies of tonight's agenda can be found on either side of the room. And for those watching at home, the agenda, as well as links for the documentation we have here on the dais, can be found on our website at downers.us, where in the lower left-hand corner you can find a link titled Current Week's Meetings. Due to the continuing COVID-19 pandemic, public comment will continue to be taken electronically as well as here in council chambers. To submit a question or comment electronically, you can visit that same This Week's Meetings Village webpage and click on the green Submit Public Comment link anytime during our meeting. We will check periodically for new submissions. Megan, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Jose?
Here.
Commissioner Earl?
Here.
Commissioner Wallace?
Here.
Commissioner Sadowski-Fuga?
Here.
Commissioner Colavini?
Here.
Commissioner Gray?
Here.
Mayor Burnett?
Here. Got a full team tonight. Good to see everybody. Item 3 on tonight's agenda is a proclamation. This is Fire Prevention Week. Whereas the Downers Grove Fire Department sponsors an annual fire prevention program, and whereas the Downers Grove Fire Department's primary concern and interest is the 24/7, 365 protection of safety and life and property in the village of Downers Grove, and whereas the Downers Grove Fire Department renders a vital public safety and prevention service in the village of Downers Grove through education, inspection, drills, and plan reviews, and responding to nearly 7,000 calls for service each year. And whereas the theme of 2020 Fire Prevention Week is Serve Up Fire Safety in the Kitchen, to reduce the risk of kitchen fires and educate everyone about the simple but important actions they can take to keep themselves and those around them safe in the kitchen. And whereas the observance of Fire Prevention Week provides an excellent opportunity for individuals to check for fire hazards, test smoke detectors, and develop an emergency and evacuation plan in their own homes and businesses. Now, therefore, I, Robert T. Barnett, Mayor of the Village of Downers Grove, do hereby proclaim the week of October 4th through 10th, 2020, to be Fire Prevention Week in the Village of Downers Grove, dated this 6th day of October, 2020, Downers Grove, Illinois. I think we have a few words this evening from our Fire Chief, Jeff Pendelski.
Good evening. Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council, for this opportunity to speak with you this evening and for recognizing Fire Prevention Week 2020. This year is quite different, but some things still do remain the same. There are still over 1.3 million fires reported in our country each year. Thousands will perish and billions of dollars will be lost due to fire. Many measures, which are often very simple, can be taken to reduce these losses significantly. Our great community is not exempt to these. During Fire Prevention Week, we resolve to protect ourselves, our families, and our community from fire. This week presents opportunities for businesses and families to learn about ways to protect themselves in case of fire, and most importantly, to help raise awareness of the steps we all can take to prevent a fire before it happens. This year, we will be bringing our Fire Prevention Week activities into everyone's home through our virtual Night at the Firehouse. Each night this week, we will be sharing a new fire safety video. Please check them out. In addition, we are asking homes and businesses to display a red light during Fire Prevention Week. This remembrance in red will honor those firefighters and citizens who have lost their lives to fire. This week, let us all rededicate ourselves to preventing tragedy before it strikes. While I have the podium, I would like to take this opportunity to inform you of a great achievement in the other area where the fire department focuses its efforts. That's emergency medical services. The Downers Grove Fire Department has been recognized once again in 2020 by the American Heart Association with its highest Mission Lifeline EMS award. This is the 4th year in a row that the Downers Grove Fire Department has received the highest rating. This recognition honors emergency medical service organizations for applying the most up-to-date evidence-based treatment and improving cardiac-related emergency care and related outcomes in the communities that they serve. The Downers Grove Fire Department has exceeded the most stringent benchmarks for more than 48 consecutive months and is one of only 6 EMS providers in the state of Illinois that has been named for this honor. This Gold Plus recognition once again places our village in the company of some of the highest rated pre-hospital emergency medical service providers in our nation. The distinction, as you know, comes in addition to the department's status as one of the top 1% of departments nationwide who are recognized with an ISO Class 1 rating for fire suppression, prevention, and public education. These are clear indications of the training, dedication, as well as the caliber of the members of our department, as well as the support that's provided by the council and the community. I want to say thank you again for that support that is given to our efforts. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. That's a huge honor. Congratulations to you and your team for all the good work done. And for those watching at home, the folks that work for the Village of Downers Grove, up and down the line, really strive to provide outstanding service at every level. And whether it's public safety or public works, they really are. And it's pretty awesome when we get recognized by the outside, people outside our community for that good work. This is a big deal for the obvious reasons, but also because the truth of the matter is most of us, when we encounter our fire department, are going to encounter them in a time of EMS need. And what they're doing is providing outstanding outcomes because of their training and their diligence and their effort. So everybody take a moment, please join me, and let's give them a round of applause. Thanks again, Chief.
Thank you.
Item 4 on our agenda tonight is the mayor's report. We have a resolution concerning appointment of members to boards and commissions. Megan, would you please read that?
A resolution appointing and reappointing members to village boards and commissions. Whereas Mayor Barnett has made the following appointments to village boards and commissions. Now therefore be it resolved that the Village Council of the Village of Downers Grove does hereby confirm the following appointments. Architectural Design Review Board. Reappoint Jeff Reimer to a 3-year term expiring August 31, 2023. Appoint Bill Stasinski to a 3-year term expiring August 31, 2023. Community Events Commission. Reappoint John Agazzino to a 3-year term expiring August 31, 2023. Appoint Rachel Rondi Giocaris to a 3-year term expiring August 31, 2023. Appoint DJ Fior to a 3-year term expiring August 31, 2023. Liquor Commission. Reappoint Alice Strelo as chair to a 3-year term expiring August 31, 2023. Appoint Abhay Shah to a 3-year term expiring August 31, 2023. Appoint Vic Mehta to a 3-year term expiring August 31, 2023. Appoint Scott Roush to a 3-year term expiring August 31, 2023. Environmental Concerns Commission. Appoint Jim Watson to a 3-year term expiring August 31, 2023. Appoint Philip Bolton to a 3-year term expiring August 31, 2023.
Is there a motion on that resolution?
Mayor, I move that the council adopt the resolution as presented.
Second.
Any comments or questions? And I'll just add to the dialogue here that we really appreciate all of those who serve our community, residents in particular, who serve on our boards and commissions. So thank you all, and thank you to my colleagues for assisting in the process. This is not a one-man show. I appreciate the help. Megan, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Jose?
Aye.
Commissioner Earl?
Aye.
Commissioner Gray?
Aye.
Commissioner Colavini?
Aye.
Commissioner Sadowski-Fugit?
Aye.
Commissioner Wallace?
Aye.
Mayor Barnett?
Aye, that motion passes unanimously. Thank you all. Item 5 on our agenda tonight, minutes of previous council meetings. Is there a motion concerning previous minutes?
Mayor, I move that the council adopt the minutes as presented.
Second.
Any council comments or questions about those previous minutes? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you all. Item 6 on tonight's agenda. This is our public comments section. This is an opportunity in tonight's meeting for those of the public who want to address the council to come up and ask questions or let us know what's on their mind for items not on tonight's agenda. So if there's anyone here who has something on their mind that's not on the agenda, please take a moment, come on down to the podium.
Good evening, Council. In speaking today, I want to try to enumerate as clearly as I can key issues I've raised in my year-long attempt to persuade Council of the need to take seriously the goal of environmental sustainability. However, before I proceed, I would note that contrary to the Mayor's suggestion in his reply to my comments on September 1st of Council readiness to offer written response to my comments, I've never received written response to any of the remarks I've made to this body over the past year. So let me try to enumerate this evening 5 major points on which I await reply. Number 1, I pointed out that Council's definition of environmental sustainability actually meant improvement, not sustainability in the usual sense of the term. I offered a more empirically based and goal-oriented definition of sustainability. This definition emphasizes humans' need to consume renewable resources at a rate less than the rate at which those resources renew. Please tell me if you accept or reject this definition. If you reject this definition, please indicate on what grounds. In rejecting it, what is Council's superior alternative? Please explain why Council finds its alternative superior. In rejecting my definition, does Council believe my definition is not sound, or does Council believe my definition is sound but does not apply to Downers Grove? If the latter, please elaborate on why it does not apply. Number 2, given my more rigorous definition, I asserted the way of life in Downers Grove, Illinois, and the U.S. is not environmentally sustainable. Does Council agree or disagree with my assertion? If it disagrees, what is the basis for believing the way of life is sustainable? What evidence supports its belief? If it agrees with my assertion, what is the reason it delays beginning to implement policies that orient the way of life in Downers Grove toward environmental sustainability? What cues will signal when the time has come for Council to begin this process? Number 3, a fundamental reason I asserted our way of life is not sustainable is its reliance on fossil fuels, a non-renewable resource, to do work. By the definition above, humans should be reducing their dependence on fossil fuels and shifting to using renewable resources. Are we? Not so far. According to the International Energy Agency, the world is using almost twice as much energy today as it used only 50 years ago. Of that total, fossil fuels remains the world's overwhelming source. In 1971, 87%. In 2018, 82%. Should we be surprised CO2 emissions have been rising in concert? How much longer can this pattern continue? Furthermore, I voiced doubt that so-called renewable energy can replace fossil fuels at the level required for the key reason that the processes of collecting, storing, and distributing wind, wave, and solar energy rely on renewable resources if one tries to attain the scale required for replacing fossil fuels. Does the Council disagree with my assertions? Based on what logic and evidence? If it agrees with my assertion, how then does Downers Grove maintain its way of life? Where is the data showing Downers Grove's current energy profile? What target profile has Council set for the village? Over what time frame? If it has not set a target profile and time frame, please explain why not. Number 4, given my definition of sustainability, I raised a key question that has been the subject of debate for at least 50 years. Is economic growth bound by environmental limits? Capitalism, the economic system of the U.S. and for all practical purposes the entire world, is an economic system committed to economic growth. Which means the question can be reformulated to the one I asked on September 1st. Is capitalism compatible with environmental sustainability? Downers Grove as a village, through this and previous council's decisions and policies, operate committed to economic growth. In response to my comments on September 1st, the mayor said, Downers Grove will obviously never opt out of capitalism. How should one interpret the mayor's statement? Does it mean that if the two are not compatible, Downers Grove chooses capitalism over environmental sustainability? Is the mayor further suggesting in that regard Downers Grove will somehow be immune to any future crisis that arises when the incompatibility yields effects, both expected and unexpected, as human activity exceeds one or more of the many tipping points about which scientists warn? Or does the mayor know of some line of argument and evidence, of which I'm not aware, that capitalism can adjust its ways so as to be compatible with sustainability in the future, and can do so before we hit those tipping points?
That's 5, David. Wrap it up.
I'm sorry?
It's 5. Wrap it up.
Can I just finish this point, if I may?
Yep.
A more specific question worth asking in that regard is, how committed to its goal of environmental sustainability does council, if, for example, the strategic plan report of the Downers Grove Economic Development Corporation for the period 2015 to 2019 identifies multiple goals pursuing economic growth, goals to which prior and current councils in fact gave substantial attention, while during the same period the councils tasked the Environmental Concerns Commission to do nothing. Perhaps the easier question is, what does council believe is the net impact of Downers Grove's current way of living on the world's environmental problems? Hurts, helps, or has no effect? What does council believe the impact of the world's social and environmental problems is on Downers Grove? Thanks.
Okay. Just for a matter of record, David, I received your written version of your comments to us tonight. I don't know when that arrived exactly, but I first saw it tonight, so obviously it'll take a little time. So clearly it'll take me a little time to digest that. The mayor's opinion is only one opinion of 7. It is not the village council policy or the village's policy. What I'm trying to do is help those that come here to petition us for a variety of things to understand what our scope is. And our scope is not some of the things that have been discussed in the past, such as education policy, federal energy policy. It is beyond our scope. Education funding was another subject that came up. There are a list of things, and our scope is very narrow. We do not affect many, many things that affect our residents every day, everything from sanitary sewers to school systems. So when I have been, I'm going to use the word dismissive because that's appropriately applied, of some of the comments in the past along these lines, they have been because I believe them to be beyond our scope. Any of my colleagues can weigh in if they think it's something we should get into, but we have a narrow scope, and I think most of the things discussed in these various sessions have been beyond our scope. I will take a look at the written comments. I appreciate actually getting them. It's a lot easier to process than trying to memorize what happens tonight. Greg.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm going to go ahead and take that bait. Among the things that are beyond our scope is the ability to take the Downers Grove economy or any piece of Illinois or the United States economy and make it something other than capitalist. I don't think that's on the table anywhere, despite what you might hear on certain news sources. We are a capitalist economy, and that's the way it is. Is that incompatible with sustainability? I don't believe so. I think the two can work in concert together, and there are many ways that can happen, and pretty much none of them are within the purview of this council. What is within the purview of this council is controlling the fleet that we use, controlling the manners in which we take care of our roads, our sidewalks, and things of that nature. The number of trees that we plant, the other environmentally sustainable steps that we take to deal with stormwater, and any number of other things. And I think the number of environmental awards that we have won demonstrates a level of commitment that perhaps doesn't meet your expectation, Mr. Rose, and for that I apologize. But we are committed to it. We are striving to do better, and we will continue to do so, I think, long into the future. Thank you, Mayor.
Anyone else? Leslie, please.
Yeah, and I do also want to point out one question that you did have was about if we know what our carbon emissions are, if we have any idea of our energy usage. And I will point out that that was shortly discussed in our 2019 long-range planning, but there was not a consensus to move forward with trying to do an energy audit or identify what our emissions are. So it was something that was discussed, but we did not proceed with it in the 2019 long-range plan.
Thank you. Rich, please.
Yeah, I'd like to comment based on the things that we have responsibility for. We talk about our green fleet. I'm speaking from memory now, so if I don't get the numbers exactly right, I apologize in advance. But I thought we were rated in the top 50 of 38,000 communities related to our green fleet. The cost for us to get to 25 would be significant for us, and it wouldn't even serve to get those vehicles off the road, because we would sell those at auction, somebody would buy them, and that problem would move to another municipality. It wouldn't be removed from the planet. So we're doing the best we can as our vehicles, our new vehicles become old vehicles. We replace them with things like natural gas and the best possible sustainability. We've been also rated as a tree city for, 24 years or something like that, which says a lot. We plant a lot of trees. We've got responsibility for some, 22,700 trees, if memory serves. So, and then related to facilities, we have certain facilities that have solar panels on them. We are totally open as a council to make the next building, this building and the police station, as sustainable as possible, and we're considering all options for that. We had to put it on hold. So I think under the things where we have control, I think we're doing a good job. Are we perfect? No. But we also have finite resources.
Anyone else? Any other comments from the audience on subjects not on tonight's agenda? Okay, moving on. Item 8 tonight is our consent agenda. Is there a motion concerning the consent agenda?
Mayor, I move that the council adopt the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Any questions, comments? Enza? Oh, I'm sorry. I got us out of order. We'll wrap this up. Are there any kinds of questions or comments concerning the consent agenda? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Thank you all, Enza and Greg and everybody else, for pulling me back in here. We have a public hearing tonight. We don't do a lot of public hearings, but we do have them occasionally. Bring this public hearing to order. This public hearing has been called by the Village Council to consider the formation of Special Service Area 11, Downers Grove Downtown Service Area, and the levying of taxes affecting said area. The Special Service Area is located in downtown Downers Grove. An accurate map of said territory is on file in the office of the village clerk and is available for public inspection. Notice of this hearing was published in the Bugle newspaper on September 16, 2020, and certification of publication is made part of these proceedings. I'd like to summarize the procedures we'll follow for tonight's meeting, or public hearing rather. First, village staff will provide an overview of the Special Service Area. Next, there will be an opportunity for members of the Village Council to ask questions or make comments. Third, there will be an opportunity for members of the public to make questions or ask comments or submit written statements or comments for the record. We will then again ask every member of the council if they wish to make a statement or ask a question, and then we will ask for a motion to adjourn this public hearing. At this hearing, witnesses will not be sworn. A verbatim written transcript of the statements or testimony given at the hearing will not be prepared. However, a recording of the proceedings will be made available on village equipment and retained until minutes of the hearing have been prepared and approved by the Village Council. With that, staff presentation, Mr. Baker.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. I'm Mike Baker, Deputy Village Manager. The purpose of this public hearing tonight is in regards to the creation of Special Service Area, or SSA, number 11. This is the continuation of a process that began in July and will continue throughout the remainder of this year into early 2021 in terms of the formal establishment of the Special Service Area. But in reality, it's a process that began many years prior, as the village has been working closely with the Downtown Management Corporation and key stakeholders in the downtown regarding plans for the future of the downtown at the time that the current SSA and other financial tools that have supported downtown reinvestment, those expire in this year. As I indicated, the current SSA will expire at the end of 2020, and the proposed special service area will replace that current SSA. When that happens, the maximum rate will drop from 1.5% to 1%. This special service area that's proposed, as well as the current special service area, are the primary funding mechanisms for the Downtown Management Corporation. And I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge leadership from that organization that's in our audience this evening, including Phil Stromberg, the chair of the board for the Downtown Management Corporation, and Aaron Venezia, the organization's executive director. They've been great partners with the village as we worked through this process for many years. The Downtown Management Corporation and the village will continue to work closely together as this process proceeds and as the plan for the future of the downtown is implemented. Be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you, Mike. Any comments or questions from the council? Rich, please.
I just wanted to comment. I was involved with this in the Plan Commission, and then we've had previous meetings about this. I think it's a well thought out plan, a good compromise. I like the support we have from our businesses in downtown, and our downtown is very important to us. So staff in Downtown Management Corporation, job well done. Thank you.
Thank you, Rich. Other council comments, questions? Are any comments or questions from the audience? Comments or questions from the audience? Okay, we'll take it back around to the council. Anybody think of anything in the last 30 seconds? Marge?
Yeah, I just want to thank everybody who's been involved. This has been a really long process, and it's gone back and forth a few times, and there have been some adjustments, and there's been a lot of input taken, a lot of resident input, a lot of business input, and this was a happy medium that maintains the funding for the downtown management through the voluntary cooperation of our businesses at a lower tax rates, and yet still manages to exempt all of the new residential. So this is really a win-win for the village, and well done to staff and everybody who's been negotiating this, especially you, Mike, and downtown management. I know you guys have worked really hard on this process, and thank you to all of you.
Thank you, Marge. Mike, did you get any electronic comments by any chance? Or could you check that, please?
I will check again right now. As of 5 minutes ago, there were no electronic comments that had been submitted. But if you give me just a minute, I'll take a look, and I'll come back up if there are any comments.
Okay. I just want to echo what Marge said and remind everybody, if you don't know exactly what this is about, spend a little bit of time going through the documents that are online. Our downtown is often considered our heart of our community, and in a non-COVID world, people love many of the things that go on down there, and an awful lot of that is a function of the good hard work of our Downtown Management Corporation, Aaron and Phil, who are here tonight, and others who work with them. And it's funded uniquely, too. Those activities are funded a little differently than other activities in the village. So it's a neat organization and a great structure. Mike is shaking his head no, so we have no online comments. Thanks for checking that. With that, we'll consider this public hearing adjourned. Thank you all. Item 9 on our agenda tonight is our active agenda. These are items on which we plan to take action this evening. These are items typically which have been discussed prior. There is one item on our active agenda tonight. Is there a motion for consideration?
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to move to direct staff to refer to the Plan Commission for review and consideration zoning text amendments regulating adult use cannabis businesses within the following parameters. Allow all cannabis-based businesses as special uses only in the M1 and M2 zoning districts, and number 1, not adjacent to a residential zoning district. Number 2, require a 1,300-foot separation distance requirement from daycare centers, schools, and parks. And number 3, limit cannabis dispensary special use permits to 3 within the village.
Second. Are there any council or any questions or comments from our audience on this agenda item? Okay. While we're doing this, Mike, would you check online? Any council comments or questions on this item? Rich, please.
Yeah, I'd like to speak on this issue. It's been a year, 13 months since we looked at this before. It came up recently as part of our budget considerations as a possible funding source to make up for a rather significant budget gap this year and trailing off into next year. At that time, I was originally in favor of it, but I did have some concerns. I raised those concerns from this seat. So I, at that time, decided to take a wait and swing position. I happen to be the swing vote, and that's why I'm explaining myself tonight. So the wait and see was to actually learn from other suburbs, see what their actual experience was, learn from them what they did right, what they would have done differently. My first concern that I stated was crime. These facilities were subject to armed robberies and things of the like. The second concern I had was, would we require additional police to actually enforce this? Would we require additional staff to monitor and regulate it? And would that additional cost eat up the possible revenue that we had? I also expressed a concern at that time of increased teen usage and Downers Grove brand. So when this came up as a budget item, I asked staff to look into what the actual results have been from those suburbs to give us that real world experience. So the first thing I found out was pleasantly surprising. There have been very little crimes against these facilities, much lower than I expected in the places that we looked at. The second thing is the revenue generation has been much higher. They've actually averaged $500,000 per year per facility, which is actually double the estimates that we had last year. The other thing that I was pleased to find out is all costs of regulation, monitoring, and enforcing are handled within the actual overhead of those other municipalities, and staff has convinced me that we would be able to do the same. And Chief Gillette has also assured us that we would be able to protect these businesses without having to add additional police resources or pull police off of different patrols or other patrols. I've not been able to find any credible evidence that teen use has increased as a result of this. Related to the brand issue, places like St. Charles, Geneva, Crystal Lake, Woodstock, Bull Valley, Deerfield, Highwood, Northbrook, Des Plaines, or River Forest have not been tarnished by legalization of marijuana in their communities. So St. Charles is a town that, you know, I like to visit on occasion. I think it's a wonderful place to live. I think it has, you know, a wonderful brand to it. So I actually looked up the top 2 realtors in that town, and I asked them if there's been any impact on people moving to the village, and they said no, that there's been no negative impact, not only there, but one of them actually does business in some 50 suburbs. He's not seen any negative results as you know, after putting legalized cannabis, and it actually has never come up in a single client of theirs that had wanted to move into the suburbs, and in a lot of cases they're moving from the city. Also, I feel that the tide is turning in this issue. The Naperville referendum was passed 53.3% to 46.7%, which is a 6.6% spread. Then the City Council voted 6-3 in favor, and they're in the process of opening 3 facilities as we speak. Furthermore, Arlington Heights voted at 8-1 to permit an 18-month trial. So I think those are the positives, and I think we'll see more and more suburbs moving into this as the fears that I had a year ago have not been realized. What did we learn was really important. In every single one of the cases that we studied, parking was abysmal. And we learned that we would need to double or triple what our normal parking requirements would be in our building code. Now think this through. Those facilities have this issue, and they actually have to hire off-duty police officers to solve that problem. And for whatever period of time they have their lease, they're going to have that problem in those places. For a 5-year lease, it's going to be a 5-year problem. A 10-year lease, it's going to be a 10-year problem. So I'm glad we learned from that. You know, I don't take back any feeling that we should have had a wait-and-see attitude, and I think waiting and finding this out helped us learn a valuable lesson. Obviously, I would have liked more time with this, but these licenses are coming up. They're very valuable. As a matter of fact, there were 700 applicants with 75 finalist locations from 21 companies. So if we have a chance to have these in our community, I think we should jump at that opportunity. And then also the other thing that strikes me is one of the rationale for this going mainstream. Curaleaf Holdings Company bought Grassroots Cannabis, who was doing business in 5 states, and they paid $875 million for the right to do business in those 5 additional states. You don't put nearly $1 billion into something unless you feel that it's going to go mainstream. Now, I understand that, if our votes were similar to Naperville, that 53% are in favor of this, are going to be really happy with what I'm saying here tonight, and 47% are not going to like me very much. And, I feel badly about that, but that's kind of the nature of this position. But I think it's the right thing to do, and I've listened to my colleagues, and respectfully, and they presented respectfully, they had some concerns. So that's why we've reached a compromise to put these only in the industrial areas. And the rationale before that is to not have the casual drive-by where a teenager would say, wow, they're selling weed, and in Downers Grove, there's a pot shop on Ogden Avenue, so let's get your cousin to buy some for us. These places, and I looked them, went there personally, and checked them out on Google Maps. If you didn't know the specific address, just by driving by, you would not know that these facilities were there. It's not some glaring sign that, we're selling pot at these locations. The other feeling is that the people who want to use that product have no problem finding it, and the results are in the $500,000 in revenue. Now, I don't typically go by email counts, but this morning I did a homework assignment. I actually went through my inbox for the last year when this originally came up, and the results were 67% of the people who wrote into me were in favor of legalized cannabis sales for recreational purposes, and 33% were against. So that's why I'm making this motion, and I feel comfortable with my decision.
Thank you, Rich. Any other council comments or questions? Leslie?
Yeah. Anybody who's been following along knows that I was one of the yes votes from the beginning. In an ideal world, I would like to see a little bit more business locations open up. But that being said, I just want to thank Commissioner Colavani for all the work that he's put into this, talking one-on-one with commissioners, talking with business owners, with staff. I know that a lot of work and time and effort went into that, and I do feel that this is a good compromise within the council, given what everybody is comfortable with. So I just want to say that I appreciate my fellow commissioners' work and efforts, and will be supporting this.
Thank you. Greg?
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to thank Commissioner Colavani for the really data-driven approach. I mean, it's obvious that you drilled down into the numbers and exactly what your concerns were, and took a look at the actual experience here in the state of Illinois. And I appreciate you doing all of that research and all that work. And I think we're putting together a good product here. So, thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Anyone else? Marge, please.
While I don't agree with Commissioner Colavani's decision, I do appreciate the fact that he has thoughtfully and carefully looked over the data. And although we may disagree, I do respect his opinion, and we have worked well together as a council, and I think that the fact that we can agree to disagree is in any situation, but especially this one, which has been heated at times, is very much appreciated. So thank you, Rich. I appreciate that.
Thank you, Marge. What else? Nicole?
Yeah, so I actually voted to view more data on this issue, and unfortunately, while I'm not going to move forward with a yes vote tonight, I certainly respect my colleagues' views on this issue, and that's why there's 7 of us up here. Sometimes it goes the way that you vote, and sometimes it doesn't. So I appreciate Commissioner Colavani's stance and the work that he's done, and the views of all of my colleagues up here. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. I have nothing to add. Megan, would you call the roll, please?
Wait,
Oh, I'm sorry.
And I'll let you know, we did receive one comment about 718 from Karen Martin, who simply stated, "Vote no on recreational cannabis in Downers Grove."
Thank you. Thanks, Mike. Now, Megan, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Colavani,
Aye.
Commissioner Jose,
Aye.
Commissioner Gray,
Nay.
Commissioner Sadowski-Fugit,
Aye.
Commissioner Wallace,
Nay.
Commissioner Earl,
Nay.
Mayor Barnett.
Aye. Motion passes 4-3. Thank you all. Item 10 on our agenda tonight is the first reading. This is the portion of our meeting where we discuss items which we're not going to take action on this evening. Typically, these are items that we plan to in the future, but we don't know exactly when, so we'll have some presentations and discussion this evening. With that, it's over to you, Dave.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm going to hand the entire first reading over to our Community Development Director, Stan Popovich. But before he starts presenting these, just a note, if you're following along the previous agenda item, the next steps, this will appear at a Plan Commission public hearing in November and probably be back in front of the council in December with more of the details for council further consideration. So if this is a topic that's important to you, there are opportunities to weigh in at Plan Commission public hearing and then back here on this board in December. So now that we've wrapped that one up, I'll turn it over to Stan for the first reading.
Thank you, Manager Fielman. Good evening, Mayor and Council. The first item on tonight's agenda on the first reading is amend the fee waiver policy of the village. You may recall in 2015, the Historic Preservation Program was examined and was reviewed and updated through the work of the ADRB and the Ad Hoc Subcommittee on Historic Preservation. They made multiple recommendations, many of which have been implemented, including the waiving of all application fees for landmark properties. There are a few recommendations outstanding, and one of them tonight that came out of that group is to waive building permit fees for historic landmark properties, contributing or significant properties in a historic district, and those properties listed on the National Register of Historic Places. We have 29 total properties throughout the village that would qualify under those three items there. So that would the recommendation is to waive building permit fees. There are fees that the village cannot waive, fees and bonds. Those include bonds, out-of-pocket expenses, consultant fees, and you can see the three fees associated with water. So that's the recommendation tonight. In addition to this recommendation, staff completed a little bit of a cleanup on the policy as well, just to clarify a few items. If there's any questions at this time, I'd be happy to answer those for you, Mayor.
Thank you, Stan. Any council comments or questions on this? Rich?
Why don't you start on the left this time?
Nope. Back to the right.
Okay. I'm really excited to see this. You know, I sat through the subcommittee meetings, and this is one of the items that came up during the study of historic preservation, is what kind of financial incentives. Many people might know that I'm a member of the Historical Society, and over the years knocked on literally hundreds of doors of people who live in great old houses and said, hey, we're having this educational event if you're interested to learn about landmarking or the historic home program. And the first question they said, well, what's in it for you? I would say, well, gratification. And then the next thing they would say is, what's in it for us? And I would say, gratification, and you get this nifty plaque. And they said, oh, there's no financial incentive. So there are a small number of homes that are landmarked. This is the sleeves out of our vest, to use that phrase. So, you know, this is something that we can give back, encourage people to actually update these historic homes, because they have solid bones, and, you know, if they keep them updated, then people who want to move from the city to come to Downers Grove will find these beautiful old homes that look just great and modern and new on the inside. So I'm pleased that we're doing this. Staff, thanks for your hard work on it.
Thanks, Rich. Any questions or comments from the audience on this one? Okay, I'll just echo Commissioner Colavani. This program, help me somebody, how many years has it been in place? 5, 6, something like that?
Yep.
And it's been an evolving and I would say pretty successful program. And that's really thanks to all the people on our staff and all the people at folks like the Edwards House crew who have helped weigh in and try and evolve the ordinance and help it grow and change. And this is, I think, a positive step forward. Appreciate it. Move on.
Thank you, Mayor. So the next two items are a planned unit development, a proposal and a rezoning at 5117 Fairview Avenue. Those are the next two items on the agenda. The property is on the east side of town, immediately south of the Fairview Avenue train station, here shown on the map. More specifically, it is the northeast corner of Fairview Avenue and 2nd Street. Currently, the site is a home of a vacant gas station with a freestanding canopy. You can see here in the aerial shot, the blue signifies the building and the canopy. And you can also see that there are 4 curb cuts, 2 on 2nd Street and 2 on Fairview Avenue currently. The petitioners are proposing to place a 3-story, 18-unit multifamily building on this property. The proposal places the building shown here in yellow along the western property line with parking provided on the east side within the building and then a parking lot along the east property line. As you can see here, the 4 curb cuts have been reduced to a single curb cut on 2nd Street. Because the site is currently zoned B2, the petitioner is seeking setback relief along both the 2nd Street and Fairview Avenue property lines. Additionally, setback relief is requested along the east property line. You will note that immediately east of this property is the village's Fairview Avenue train station commuter parking lot. Parking is provided. There are 41 parking spaces provided plus 4 motorcycle parking spaces where 36 are required. You can see there's additional green space around the building and around the perimeter of the parking lot, and also some patios on the first floor as well that you can see there. Due to the builder's proximity to the train station and the location of this property within the Fairview focus area, staff worked with the petitioner to ensure that the design of the building was attractive on all sides. So this is looking from the southwest corner, which is where the traffic light is. So you can see a brick veneer on the first floor with fiber cement siding, the building plane, the windows, height variations, in addition to some balcony projections, create a good facade here on both of these elevations that we can see from here. Similarly, from the northwest corner, we can see the front facade on the right side, and then the north facade here with very similar features. And then from the southeast corner, again, you can see the different colors and variations with balcony projections, material changes, and you see some corner elements on both of the, on all of the corners as well. And then in this shot here, you can also see the garages that are on the east side of the building that would be accessed through the private parking lot there as well. With regard to the comprehensive plan, the project and the site is within the Fairview focus area. It's catalyzed site E5 associated with the property immediately to the north of this as well. The comprehensive plan notes that in Fairview we should create a cohesive neighborhood with distinctive identity, neighborhood scale redevelopment. Apartment buildings across the street are between 2 and 4 stories tall. And since they're a little bit older, they're not as tall as some of the newer buildings at that scale as well. We're looking to improve the form, function, and appearance of the focus area, redevelop non-pedestrian oriented properties, which this property does, and then orient the buildings to the street with parking in the rear. If we look at the comprehensive plan, we can see that the redevelopment proposal or idea does show in the graphics here that the building is closer to the street in that way right there. With regard to the subdivision ordinance, because it is a planned unit development request, there are park and school donations that are required, just about $137,000 worth of donations split between the park district and there are 2 school districts that service this property. With regard to the zoning ordinance, there is a planned unit development. The Planning Commission found that the requirements and the approval criteria under the planned unit development were met, as was the rezoning criteria as well. I am happy to answer any questions for you tonight that you might have. Our petitioners are here as well with their team if you have any questions for them.
Thank you, Stan. Any questions or comments from the council? We'll start on the left this time. Yeah.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to say really quickly, in reading this week, I was actually excited to see activity. When you think about where we have lived for the past 8-9 months, to actually see that we still have very strong residential activity going with housing, and then to see a project of this size, it kind of was a nice, kind of a nice feather. It was nice to see. So thanks for all the work done, and thanks to the petitioners.
Thank you, Marge.
I was able to attend the Plan Commission hearing for this item, so I was appreciative of the questions, and there were 2 things that really stuck with me that I'm uncomfortable with. One is I know that the overall footprint of this plan gives a little more green space, but it's set far closer to the southwest corner where everything is extremely tight and the sight lines are definitely going to be reduced. So I have a problem with these setbacks. I'm not sure if another 2.5 feet, 10 feet, 10 feet would make me feel better. Definitely, but still, these sight lines, right now it's wide open. I think we've learned quite a bit since the building went up at the corner of Maple and Main, and the sight lines are really tight there. The visibility here, I worry that it's going to start to impede on traffic a bit. Secondly, the water that comes off of this lot, even though there's it's virtually the same impervious coverage, that's not making anything really that much better. I understand that the stormwater for this project, when it does hit the level that it's going to flow out, it's going to flow onto 2nd Street. And then from there, possibly to Fairview. I'm not sure exactly which way this water is going to run. But if it's going to be making any problems worse instead of better, I really, really hesitate. I think we can always do better. I think that some additional stormwater storage, maybe under the parking lots, would be greatly appreciated. I think that it would be a great thing for the neighborhood as well. I would hope that the petitioner might think about those two things I've said. I greatly like this building. I'm very hopeful that we can come to some kind of agreement on the two things I've mentioned, and maybe the neighborhood will be better off for it. I understand it wasn't our ideal. We had hoped that it would be a mixed-use development, but the site is tight. There's not room for a drive-through. There's a lot of other problems with this site that would prevent some of the things we would desire even more than this. But I think this is a great compromise. I think we're 95% of the way there, and if we could just get those couple of things I'm concerned about looked at, I would feel a whole lot better about this. So thanks. Those are my comments. So thanks very much.
Thank you, Marge. Brad?
Thank you, Mayor. I'm in full support of the project. I think the Plan Commission is right that it meets all of the various requirements for the PUD and rezoning. I love that it's got all the parking that's required. We're putting a new residential building just a stone's throw from the Fairview Avenue train stop, which I think is a great thing. And hopefully it will spur additional development and redevelopment in the Fairview corridor. We've been hoping for that for quite some time. We've talked about it over the period of the last 7 or 8 years at least since I've been up here. Obviously, we'd like to see additional improvement on stormwater, but we know that because of the impervious space that's already there, it's obviously not going to make anything worse. So at least it's a do no harm situation. But as somebody who lives within a stone's throw of this particular project and has been driving by and walking by that gas station that's been closed for I don't know how many years now, if I had $1 for every time I've been asked, when is this going to be redeveloped? My kids would have been drinking a lot more Slurpees from the 7-Eleven next door. So this is, I think, a welcome project in the area, and I'm looking forward to supporting it. Thank you, Mayor.
Thanks, Greg. Nicole?
Sure. I hadn't planned on commenting, but I will surely comment. I definitely appreciate that something is going in this space. I would be curious to see if Commissioner Earle's two concerns, if there is something that could be done there. I think those are valid concerns. But I certainly appreciate, echoing my fellow commissioners' comments about something happening during the time that we're in with development, something nice going up, this continuing to happen in our community during a time of economic struggle is, that's really nice to see. So, I'm mostly in support of this as well, but I would love to hear some of the comments that Commissioner Earle brought up, see them addressed, just to see if any of those things could be changed, altered, or if we are, if this is what we're going with. But if so, I'm in support of this project, and I appreciate something going in this space. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Leslie?
I also live just south of this and drive by it quite frequently, and I was thrilled to see that we were actually going to be redeveloping it. I think the building looks great. I don't have as many concerns with the sight lines, having been kind of through that area as much. And again, because as Commissioner Jose mentioned, it already is a pretty impermeable surface. So for me, I would be content if, whatever plants we kind of used on the outside were just native plants that were used for to soak up rainwater. So whether it be swamp prairie plants or what it may be, something native, that would satisfy me in terms of the stormwater help. But outside of that, I'm thrilled that this project is going in.
Thank you. Rich?
Yeah, I'd like to mirror my colleagues. Thank you so much, Petitioner, for your willingness to put this nice building. It's probably been, 8, 10 or more years that it's been vacant. I spent my first 20 years 2 blocks from there. I know that corner very, very well. I do share Commissioner Earle's concerns when I first saw it. So, wow, that's really tight to the street. Now, I guess somewhat of a mitigating factor is people heading west on 2nd Street will only be turning north. So it's not the same concern that we have as cross traffic. Another fine example of a partially blocked view is on the terminating vista of Burlington and Forest, where people have to turn left in front of traffic, but there's a stoplight there at 2nd Street. So, if you can do something like that, I think that'd be great. If you can help a little bit with the stormwater, because as you know, it's a huge problem. But if we had to hold our nose for those 2 issues, it's a tight spot. So there's not a lot more you can do with it. Thank you, Mayor.
I want to echo Commissioner Earle. Not sure I want to hold my nose yet. It's a cool building, and I love the idea of redevelopment on a site that we know is an eyesore and has been a mess for a long time. That said, it definitely, this is one of those ones that absolutely changes the character of the neighborhood now, arguably for the better, given that there's a gas station there right now. But that strip mall immediately north, the northbound folks on Fairview are going to be challenged to recognize that there's a laundromat there and that there's a 7-Eleven there. The intersection being signalized certainly helps, but it's right up on the corner, and that's way different than the apartments across the street. It's way different than the strip mall. It's way different, frankly, than the buildings on the north side, the north side of the tracks that have a little more setback. Stormwater is a big deal. For those that are watching, and for those that have watched this council for 12 years, it might be the biggest deal in Downers Grove. It is a constant challenge. So, recognizing, of course, that this lot is pretty much pavement right now is one thing, as Greg said, do no harm. But we are trying to do more than no harm. Every time we do something, we'd like to make an improvement. So it would be certainly something that I would find appealing if there was some way to do some stormwater improvement on the site as well, something beyond do no harm. I too am thankful that folks are interested in our community, interested enough to put forth the time and energy to try and pull this together, and I'm hopeful we can get there. It would be a good result if we did, but I do worry about those same things. So, audience counts, questions, comments. Hang on one second, Dave. Dave?
Yeah, thank you so much, Council, for your commentary and direction. We have enjoyed a great working relationship with this petitioner, and they've really done a great job of working with us and helping meet not only their own vision for their development, but the community vision as expressed in our comp plan. They've even gone above and beyond and worked with us to apply the downtown design guidelines to this non-downtown area. So thank you so much for your commitment to our community. Yes. A couple things have come up here tonight that we'd like the opportunity to work cooperatively with the developer on this. I think there's some very minor changes that could be made to have a positive impact. And in the spirit of the planned unit development, where there's some give and take, I think we as a community can give a little bit on those setbacks and get them the building that they're looking for. And I think we can come up with a way to address a couple of the potential line of sight issues and enhance some stormwater. So we'd like to just meet with the petitioner starting as soon as tomorrow and see if we can get these minor changes with big results made.
Okay. It's fine with me. Mr. Baker, did we get any comments online about this item? Thank you. Okay, thank you all for taking the time to be here tonight as well. Look forward to continuing the conversation. Thank you. That takes us to the manager's report. What do you got, Dave?
Thank you. It's a further discussion of the 2019 to 2021 long-range plan, actually an update to that plan. This is the culmination of a multi-meeting process which, as you know, started back in June. And a couple of council meetings ago, staff presented a complete draft of the long-range plan update. That was actually the second council meeting in September. We, as a staff, then met individually with 4 village council members who had some questions and comments at that meeting in September. And in fact, we've identified a couple of potential changes which could be made to the long-range plan. The plan, however, that is presented tonight has not changed since the previous plan was presented. It's the same presentation we gave back in mid-September. This version of the plan will appear with the proposed FY21 budget, which comes out on October 23rd, unless we hear any objections from the council tonight, or unless we are directed to make any of the potential changes that were summarized in your staff materials.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you for the diligence over the last month. Making sure that we were on the same page and that we were collectively pointed the right way was important. I don't think we were last time, and as Marge said, we sometimes try to be agreeable when we disagree. But I'm glad you guys have been able to sort of circle it around and tighten it up. I'm assuming that we'll just move forward with that unless anybody's got anything they want to add. Greg, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. I was among the folks that tossed the grenade in the room a couple of weeks ago, the last time we were talking about this. I do appreciate all of staff's work in putting together the additional information. And while I might seek to tweak a thing or two here and there, we couldn't quite count to 4 on those things. And when it comes down to it, we're trying to reach consensus. And at a bare minimum, you gotta count to 4. It didn't happen this time. That doesn't mean we can't continue to talk about some of these issues in the future. And perhaps things will change down the road when we're not staring down the barrel of a pandemic and other matters. So I want to thank the staff for all of their work. I want to thank my council colleagues for indulging us on that. And to borrow from the last time, Dave, this is my plan. So, thank you.
Thanks, Greg. Okay.
That ends tonight's...
Wait, I think Rich wanted to say something.
First of all, I appreciate your kind comments. I wanted to thank staff for the hard work. You're working with a moving target here, as Commissioner Jose said, with the pandemic. I think this whole council has the attitude that we're open and flexible and didn't take concrete hard stands against these. So as our financial picture unfolds over the next 6 months, 9 months, a year, I don't have a problem with taking a look at this again. So as I mentioned before, our long-range plan has become a medium plan. It's become a short-term plan based on the fact that it's kind of like a football game. You've got to call an audible based on what position you are on the field. So hopefully that will improve and we can do more important things.
Thank you, Dave.
Thank you. That completes our report tonight, Mayor.
Attorney's report. Is Enza still in the room?
I'm still here. Thank you, Mayor. 2 items tonight to present. The first is an ordinance rezoning certain property located at 5117 Fairview Avenue, and an ordinance amending the zoning ordinance to designate the property at 5117 Fairview Avenue as Plan Unit Development Number 62 and authorizing an 18-unit multifamily residential development. That is all. Thank you, Mayor.
Item 13 on our agenda tonight are council member reports. This is an opportunity for council members to let us know about the things going on in their world or in the community that they're associated with. With that, we'll go left again and start with Kavanaugh.
Okay. Thank you, Mayor. Just wanted to try and bring all of us here that are listening, all of us that are here together, and anyone listening, back to a time when we could actually go out and do things. And I bring that up because I remember in February, my family going to celebrate a friend who was reaching the 50th birthday milestone. At that time, there was this great opportunity to celebrate her family, celebrate friends, that coming together that has seemed so distant. Probably no more than 2 months after that event, I remember the woman calling and trying to be consoled by my wife as she said goodbye to her mother who passed due to COVID. I almost have to choke down the words that I feel like we've been trying to say from this place, that so many have been trying to say for months now. As I speak to my kids when they go out, the importance of trying to stay safe and keep distance. I'm not going to get too deep into what I feel is really locked away in my heart and my chest right now, but I would say we are dealing with something that is still very real. We are dealing with something that has devastated some 209,000 lives, and I would hope that even within the midst of where we are still being safe, that we are still approaching this global pandemic as something that is very serious. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Kevin. I appreciate the good reminder. We all need that. Marge?
Mayor, it's been an eventful week for me this last week. Saturday, my toast caught fire. So during Fire Prevention Week, don't walk away from your toaster because you just never know when it's going to go off, and double check those batteries in your smoke alarm because that time change is coming soon and you might want to get a head start on it. If they're out, you just never know. It was put out safely, didn't have to call anybody, so that was a good thing. But it's a reminder that just doing those everyday things can get you into trouble if you're not mindful. Second of all, this COVID thing is really exhausting everyone. Everyone's patience are short. And my daughter, the school teacher, got word today that one of her fellow, yesterday, she got the word that one of her fellow teachers, who she had been in the same area with, has come down with COVID. The teacher has. She willingly went to get tested. I will tell you that we don't know the results yet, but the ramifications of just knowing that you have to go get tested just sends shock waves through your whole life and through the life of everyone you know. From where to get tested, the panic in her voice, the uncertainty. She lives in a condominium building, and the worry that she had my grandson and one of the other kids in the building sleeping over because they had been in regular contact, but they were at a sleepover with her on Saturday night. Now there's worry about the two little kids, not to mention all of the kids in her school who will now have to be sent home and be tested. This really does just send shock waves. It's more than just throwing a rock in a pond. It is throwing a boulder in your life. And I know people hate masks. I know we're all tired. I know we're all short with everyone. Everyone's patience is at an end. But please keep doing the best you can to keep yourself safe and your family safe, because you just never know when you're going to be that one in that shockwave position, and either you're getting hit with the waves and you feel like you're drowning, and you're trying to get back up to the surface, or you're watching somebody else struggle to get to the surface. It's a very difficult thing to watch. I've watched it happen to other people, and now I see it happening in my life. It is a very difficult thing, and my thoughts are with you all, and please do your best to be safe and be careful. That's all I have for today, Mayor.
Thank you, Marge. Greg?
Thank you, Mayor. First, I want to thank Marge and Kavanaugh, for your statements tonight. That's they're truly heartfelt and touching. I want to thank you for that. Wanted to, along with Chief Pendelski's statement earlier, remind folks that while we can't gather as we normally would down at Fire Station 5 on Main Street for Night at the Firehouse, and say have the kids walking around with popcorn and sliding down the fire pole, there are still some fun videos on the village website at downers.us for a virtual Night at the Firehouse, including a fashion show of the various gears that the fire department wear. While we can't get together, the kids can still have a little bit of fun with that. And I wanted to remind folks as well that while Downers Grove Village Hall will eventually be an early voting site, and there's a lot of excitement out there about voting, you can't vote here just yet. If you check out our website, the full information is there. It starts here on October the 19th. So stay tuned, and whether you're voting in person or by mail, stay safe. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Greg. Rich?
A lot of people on Facebook and other social media asked about Halloween. Downers Grove does not specifically regulate Halloween or the hours, but we did post on Facebook, on Nextdoor, and also our website some guidance that was published by the Illinois Department of Public Health. So we do encourage people to go to our website, look at that, and there's some common sense guidelines. If you're not comfortable and you don't want to participate, simply turn off your lights, close your doors, and you don't have to participate. If you want to participate, I think following the guidelines makes perfect sense.
Thanks, Rich. Leslie?
Oh, I do have a report. So because of COVID, as we've all been discussing, the Ymca Gala is now going to be online, and I just want to put a shameless plug in that you're going to see some excellent performances on Facebook in the coming weeks, so please keep an eye out for that, and I'll be sharing those.
Thank you.
Make sure you donate.
Nicole?
We are having Halloween window painting. It is outdoors. You can wear a mask. The areas where you can paint will be a little further spread apart this year. Rotary Club of Downers Grove and Downers Grove Downtown Management are combining forces. We will supply the paints. All that we ask is that if you decide to come and paint, you bring a paintbrush and a food donation for Fish Food Pantry. Right now they are serving about 70 residents, so the continued need for food and supplies is definitely there. You don't have to register. You just pick up your paint at Downtown Management. It is from 9 to 12 p.m. on Saturday, October 24th. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. I just had a brief commentary that really starts by saying thank you to each and every one of my colleagues. You heard tonight, just in the last couple of minutes, not only some positive things about what's going on in our community, but the good, solid reminders about the COVID world we're in. This has been an interesting ride, not something any of us expected. And what we have done is, as Commissioner Earl said earlier, remain agreeable. The last meeting we had before COVID became the talk of the town, we had all of us pointed the same way on a facilities project. That felt great. It was awesome. But since then, we've had to do a lot of things a lot less fun. We've had COVID response plan. We've had changes to our operations. We've had changes to the way we meet. And then we've tried to conduct business. We've talked about LRP and high priority action items. Cannabis came up tonight, the new developments, some good things. Stormwater continues to be an issue. And we have had the good fortune, due to the good work of every one of us up here, to stay pointed in the same way on behalf of our residents. That's what we do. And we don't always agree. That will continue to happen. I think Nicole said that's why there's 7 of us. It's exactly right. But it has been an absolute pleasure, if you can say that in COVID, to have been part of this team working through the process. And we're making progress. The LRP tonight is an action plan forward for our entire village. We'll be working on budgets shortly and pinning that down. And we've got people that still want to invest in our community, which is great. So I just want to say thank you to everybody, each and every one of you. I appreciate it. So, with that, is there a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you and good night.